And this truly is a community school. Our students, many of them, their parents and their grandparents graduated from here as well. So there's a vested interest from our community in our success, which leads to a great deal of support for our students and for the work that we do here. It is a unique opportunity for us here. We have many programs where our high school students are able to work and interact with elementary school students. Our children ride the buses together from the time they enter elementary school. So it really builds this opportunity to create community and for them to look out for each other and to mentor each other. So it's wonderful. Yeah. We've actually had Teacher of the Year for 2 years in a row. And I've been asked, what is my leadership strength? And I would say that I have a strong ability to hire the best people to work with our students in this community. We've seen some turnover in our staff in the time that I've been here, and much of that was because of retirements. And so I've had an opportunity to hire a significant number of our staff and to work closely with them in their development as new teachers. And I will say that we have some top-notch educators in this building, both in terms of their content, but also their commitment to students, and also their commitment to this community. Many of them are participating in community events, so that students see them in other venues, and they're part of this. And I think that's important.
No, I never wanted to be a teacher, ever. My mom's a teacher, and everyone's been telling me forever, you should be a teacher, you should be a teacher. And high school was the worst time for me. I was very overweight in high school and bullied, so going back to school was not an option. But I received a summer position teaching art, and I just fell in love with it. Students, when they come into my room, they are allowed to be themselves. They're allowed to express themselves. And without me facilitating that, comfort zone for them, that safe place, it wouldn't happen as easily. So it's really important for me to kind of be down to earth. And I'm more than just a teacher. I'm kind of like a social worker, a parent, a friend. It's kind of an odd profession, but it's so much fun. And I love it because I get to know them personally, and I get to kind of pull things out of them that they normally wouldn't do. Well, I created this space because that's where I lived in high school. That was my safe zone when I was, being picked on or bullied. I knew that the art room was my safe place. So that's what I've created for my students. And they know that they can come in throughout the day if they're having a bad time or, going through something that they need to talk about and just get off their chest. They can walk in my room, sit down for a minute. I'll eventually shove them back to class, but it's that environment where they can create and be themselves. So Robin Warner was Teacher of the Year last year, and then we thought that for sure we wouldn't get it 2 years in a row. So I was extremely excited and honored that they would choose me. And to be representing the fine arts is incredible, especially with the push for the core content areas. And my platform has always been the arts kind of bridge it all together. They connect everything. So it's such a wonderful thing to be acknowledged for what I do and how I kind of bring our contents together. I feel like Miss Einhorn is such a supportive instrument in letting me be me and incorporating my content with other contents. So in some aspects, I guess, around the country and around the state, it could be marginalized, but I don't feel that way in our county. I feel like the arts are celebrated, especially with such an artistic community who supports me in every way too.
Well, and it's really neat because, like I said, I grew up here. My family's lived here for generations. you could say generations, really, truly. Yeah. My grandmother, aunts, uncles all went through, St. Michael's. So, and actually my mom was the secretary next door. So, growing up, that was, behind the scenes, you saw what the teachers and the, administration, were like. It is. I mean, I really think that this is a community school. The community looks at our students and helps out, whatever way they can. The local churches put on assemblies and donate money for after-school programs, and the Rotary Club, the Women's Club of St. Michael's. I mean, they do multiple fundraisers to offer our kids very substantial scholarships each year. Really, and now especially because the schools are connected, you know, it's not unusual for a student in the Head Start program next door at 3 years old, you know, to continue pre-K, kindergarten, all the way through. And, you know, the elementary school students use the auditorium. So, you know, just yesterday, I think it was, we saw an elementary school class walking through the building to go to the auditorium. So the kids are used to seeing each other. They ride the same buses. So it really is nice for them to see role models, but it also helps our students at the high school level and middle school level to remember they are role models. And because we're small, you know, a lot of times it's trying to figure out the puzzle of, you know, okay, we don't necessarily have the resources that a larger school would have, so we have, every situation is a little bit different and unique to try to figure out what does this child need and do we offer that, and if not, how can we offer it, or what systems can we put in place to help, you know, that child. And yeah, we have our issues and our problems like every other school, but by and large the kids are respectful and will stick up for one another. I mean, certainly we have the bullying issues and things like that like any other school, but like I said, by and large the kids are respectful and stick up for one another. It's neat to actually work with some of the teachers that I had, and that's really cool. Yeah. You know, and the parents, a lot of the parents, like I said earlier, went to school here, so they may have had some of the same teachers as well. So sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not so good, but they know what they're up against. High School Alumni Association, don't quote me on this, but I believe we're actually one of the older continually meeting alumni associations in the country. Actually, it's over 100 years that they have continually met yearly for a banquet, meeting, those type of things. Now, the first dated, it's a drape with the mottos of every class, and the first one I think is the 1933-34. And during the graduation ceremony, the junior class president, when they graduate, walks in with it, and they come up to the podium and they read a speech that actually dates back to the 50s that was written by the principal at the time. And each year, or after a certain amount of time, they had to add extra panels. The alumni president's house burned down in Claiborne. It was a bad thing. This was in a plastic container. It was one of the only things that made it through. Very minimal damage, but...
Yeah, where is the damage?
Just
a tear.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know. And then money was donated to build this display case in honor of one of the teachers that is like in her 90s but taught for X number of years. I really like my job. I take my job very serious, probably sometimes too serious, but you know, I have one child at home, but these are my children as well. You spend so much time with other people's children that it's just normal for, you know, good educators to feel that dedication and that compassion for their students.